This is a film about two worlds in which my friend Sasha Demetov lives. In one of these worlds, which you know well, he's a public idol, fate's darling, a wonderful actor. But he has another world. He won't let strangers in. There are tears, disappointments, happiness and sorrow. A feeling of emptiness in a life with no real purpose, and a light that's discovered in darkness. There, in the depths of that world, a man searches for himself and his connection with God. Since I can remember myself, I've wrestled with questions. Why was I born? Why am I alive? I think already in my childhood, I felt that outside our world, there's another hidden world. A world that can't be seen. I searched for myself. I searched for others like me. I always felt that something was leading me. I finished school, I finished studying structural engineering, and yet I felt that wasn't it. It wasn't right, understand? Maybe you felt you were born to be a great actor. Yes. Then I was certain of it. I left work and at 20 I was accepted to acting school. Then I felt I was discovering a new world, new people. I felt I was discovering something I'd never seen. I think that other than the people I met on stage, I began to feel that sensation, that special feeling that in life cannot be felt. I worked in the best theater in Russia, with the best director. Everything looked great. Everyone predicted a bright future for me. I met Sveta, we married, Danny was born, a warm, supportive home. In brief, everything was great. What more could you ask for? Yes, and what happened? Then, one sunny morning, I woke up with a strange feeling. I didn't want to go to the theater. Boring. Not interesting. Suddenly I felt dreadful. Everything started crumbling slowly. Everything was painted black. It had no point. Meaningless. I found out that my director, Eugenie Aria, was moving to Israel to create a theater. I asked him if I could join. And he said, "Let's go." Silly me, I never thought of Israel. As soon as I heard the word, I swear, I trembled. Of course. That's the answer. My heart was filled with certainty. This was my place. The feeling that in addition to theater, something else pulled me was very clear.
המקום שמור. ומתחת לזה כתוב בעיפרון, בשביל יוסי. יוסי זה אני.
I followed Sasha. I didn't know what awaited me. I heard strange stories that we'd live in huts the first month, sleep on bunk beds. I was very scared. But when we finally came, it was hot outside. In December, it rained. We arrived at night. Our director gathered us all and we sat on the boardwalk. It was beautiful. The sea scent. Suddenly it started raining and everything was so beautiful. Everything was wonderful. Rehearsals, concerts. We were rehearsing the play The Idiot. The theaters were full. And then the war broke out. We all sat with our gas masks. Danyechka wasn't two yet and refused to go into his tent. He'd start crying. Of course, we were all scared at the time. Everything was so new to us. We'd only seen war on television. It was very hard and threatening. Senya, do you remember what was the hardest about the war? The constant anticipation for the alarms. Any moment that sound could cut through the air and once again we'd have to put on our masks and go inside. Once, on one of those nights, when we sat in our sealed room, I needed to keep myself busy, so I looked through old papers. And I came across an article about Rabbi Lightman's book, Kabbalah. At this point, his life began anew. I called the rabbi and he said, "Come over." I arrived and there sat a man, not yet old, but his hair was white. I asked if I could be his student. He took a pen and paper and wrote Demidov. At night, when all the strange souls sleep, when the air is as clear as a tear and nothing can distract, it is then at night that the Kabbalists meet. They read special books, and it entails much work of the heart. That is how it was hundreds and thousands of years ago, and that's how it is today. And so at nights I studied, in the mornings I rehearsed, and in the evenings we put on plays. I was terribly exhausted, but my exhaustion was infused with happiness. I needed it. I didn't hide my night studies from Arya, my director. I thought that he'd demand that I quit my studies, but he didn't say a word. He understood how important it was for me to be at peace with myself. Every man has a point in his heart. The point in the heart is in the human heart. It waits. It waits for the opportunity. It waits for a reaction. It waits for a calling from above. You can't run from it. At first, I understood nothing. At this point, you don't need to understand, the rabbi would say. You need to listen and hear with your inner voice, only yours. Because inside of you are all the worlds, the whole universe. Everything written in these books was written about you. You only need to direct your inner receiver to the right frequency. Then you'll hear the inner voice, and then the world will open. Every day, more students would arrive, all very different. They gathered around the rabbi as if they'd heard his call. Yashka, who fought in Afghanistan, Sasha Berkhansky, a biologist, Gadi, a mechanical engineer, Aaron, a professor, Moti, an historian, David, a composer, Roma, a cab driver. The group grew. Everyone arrived in their own way. When I first came to the group, I was amazed that they spoke Russian. The rabbi spoke with a heavy Russian accent, and the students understood very little of the written words. Not that I understand a lot, but at least I know Hebrew. I asked myself, what was I doing here? Maybe I should go to a higher level with people who understand. But it took only 2 to 3 minutes for that gap to disappear. I felt there was nothing that separated me from the others. For the first time, I felt there was something beyond language, beyond any outer limitation, an inner search that we were all taking part in. At that point, I already felt joined to the group and the rabbi. I felt it in my heart. I couldn't get rid of the feeling. The Kabbalah pulled me in further and further. The theater was filled with excited audiences. It became one of the best theaters in the country. I got parts I could only have dreamed of in Russia. I recall that often I'd ask, why do I need the Kabbalah? Throw it all to hell. You see how it's all working out. But every night, some invisible power pushed me out from the house into the group. We studied Rabbi Ashlag's books. He's a great modern Kabbalist who came to the world to tell our generation in understandable terms all about the Kabbalah. His nickname was the Master of the ladder upwards. He explained step by step how a man should move up the ladder, how going upwards will make man able to conquer time and death, and how he'll be able to see the past, present, and future, how to determine his destiny. (1948), the War of Independence. A few days before the war broke out, the Master of the Ladder opens a map of Israel and predicts precisely when and how the battles will be fought. His prophecies came true. He saw the future. That night, we went to the grave of the master of the ladder. Many questions went through my head. How does a man attain such power?
איך מגיע בן אדם לעוצמה שכזו?
What must I do to attain
מה
it?
עליי לעשות לשם כך?
If you study Kabbalah, the rabbi said, you'll be able to live in two worlds, like the ladder master. In our world, as well as in the spiritual world, where you can see all that has happened to humanity. Understand, he said, all the wars, all the disasters, all the events in every man's life as well as in yours, all that has already happened in the spiritual world. Only later does it happen in our world. When you're in the spiritual world, you can affect our world. The cemetery is a dead place for the body, but it is very alive for the soul. You'll be able to unite with the soul of the ladder master if each of you wants it enough. At rehearsals, we were working on a new play. I was supposed to play a Nazi, head of a concentration camp, a diverse part, a graphic part. I couldn't understand how to combine my will to study Kabbalah with the theater. With this Nazi part I was playing. My heart was torn. Theater, which had given my life meaning, was now a burden.
למה אני צריך את הקרב הזה איתו? עד מוות.
Despite it all, with great effort, I went to the theater every day, and every day I died again. The part wasn't working. An opening night was coming up. I hated everyone. Myself, the theater, my friends. Home was unbearable too. I understood that I had to reach a decision, however difficult. I had already come to terms with it within myself. I must leave the theater. I went with my decision to the rabbi. The rabbi heard him and answered harshly. You can't leave your profession. You must make an effort to realize your talent. A Kabbalist lives in two worlds. In this world, he's like everyone else. He must work and make a living, raise a family, serve in the army, and while doing so, he must climb the spiritual ladder bridging the gap between the two worlds. The history of humanity is filled with suffering. You and your roles show the audience the source of their suffering. it is because the two worlds are cut off from one another. It's like a tree cut off from its roots. You say the part won't work? Bring it out of yourself, like a Kabbalist would. All the criminals and all the righteous in the world are inside you. Find the murderer in your soul, bring him out from the depths, and show everyone.
אני אדם קטן, אבל הפכתי אותך לכלב שלי. אתה שונא אותי.
Then you'll see the part shine, because it will truly be felt. I stayed in the theater. I dove into the part with new vigor. Sometimes I was terrified when I saw that it all came from me. The character wasn't born by looking outwards. It's what I wanted to destroy within me. I tried to talk to the audience about suffering in this play and in others. I started to act like I'd never acted before. During this period, Sasha was at the peak of his fame. He acted as if he were born again.
פרס השחקן השונה מוענק לישראל סשה דמידוב על תפקידו בכפר תיאטרון גשר.
שלום, אני יוסי. תודה לאל שאני פה, בארץ. תודה לעם ישראל, שיש עם כזה. תודה ליבגני אריה. תודה לאמא שלי, תודה לאשתי. אני אוהב אתכם.
Every 3 months, the rabbi takes us north to the places where the great Kabbalists once lived. I can feel how we all change on those trips. The rabbi's stories intrigue my soul and impress me. I imagine the 2nd century when the Romans conquered Judah. Here in the cave, Idra Rava, lived Rabbi Shimon and his son. Afterwards, another 8 Kabbalists joined them here. That's how the book of the Zohar was created, secret writings that prophesize what will happen to humanity. Every letter, every line, every comma in the book has a special meaning and purpose. Inside the book is everything about the world, about man, about the workings of the universe. All the prophecies of Nostradamus, of Galileo's and Newton's and Einstein's discoveries are already in this book. It excites me to imagine the 2nd century. The world is shocked by wars. Rule, power, wealth have become the highest values. Barbarians attack Rome. Plagues wipe out hundreds of thousands. And just then, here, in this tiny cave, sat 10 Kabbalists and wrote this book about eternity and all-encompassing love. Suddenly the book disappeared. Until 1534 in Jerusalem, an eccentric boy was born who would be known as the Holy Ari. As soon as I heard of the Ari from the rabbi, I felt a mystic relation to this person. From that moment, I read everything I could find about the Ari. At the age of 3, he says to his father, Rabbi Shlomo, "In your past life, you were a glassmaker in Jerusalem. You were hung on a cross by the Romans at Jaffa Gate." The boy knew everything about reincarnation. The Ari's in my thoughts day and night. At rehearsal, at plays, I can't stop thinking about him. I speak to him. I think I can hear him. He tells me all about my past lives and my future ones too. I play Yossi. I think I hear the Ari's voice. Suddenly strange things are happening to me.
שהוא היה אבא שלי, ולא כתוב פה שאני אהבתי אותו, ואף פעם לא אמרתי לו.
הוא מנווט אותי.
He was directing me.
טמבל.
אני חש
I feel an overwhelming love he radiates towards me. What's happening to me? Is this my imagination? Or do I really hear the voice of the Ari? You must play the Ari, the rabbi told me. Of course, you can't reach his level of spirituality, but you can play him. All our souls are connected to his. If you play the Ari, you'll reach a new depth in yourself. The shows abroad are nearing. They always come at a bad time for me. We're taking Village to a festival in Germany. But the theater is filled with an excited audience giving us standing ovations. The critics spare no superlatives. It was an honor to host Gesher on their stage. My soul is heavy. I'm like a fish out of water. I can't do without Israel, without the group, without the rabbi. I can't. An invisible force draws me back. Every night, I call home to class. The guys connect me, the distance vanishes, and there aren't thousands of miles between us. 3 hours I listen to the class. I'm energized. I want to live, to get on the stage, and someday to play the Ari. I'm the Ari. I'm a 15-year-old praying in a synagogue in Egypt. In the corner, near the window, is an old man I've never seen. On his lap is a book. The old man looks at me. This book is for you, Ari. I brought it from Svat. For people long await your arrival. The shows continue. We go from city to city, and the Ari is with me in my heart. At age 15, he receives the Zohar book. For 20 years in solitude, he studied. Only 20 years later did he arrive in Sfat. I read the notes of Chaim Vital, the Ari's loyal student. Only at age 36 does the Ari arrive in Sfat. After learning Kabbalah for years, we all begin to understand how little we know. We listen to the young man intensely. We drink his words. Behind every look that excites you, behind the rain that caught you in the forest, behind that old strange man who supposedly just happens to sit next to you with the Kabbalah book, behind all that is God. It is He, God, wearing costumes of our world, calling us. The shows reach their end. The audiences don't want to say goodbye. Just one more day and we're returning to Israel. On the way home, I discovered the last day of the Ari. On the 5th of Av, 1572, the pure soul of the Ari returned to heaven. I imagined the Ari's mikveh and myself among his students. We purified his body in the mikveh. His pale body floated on the water. I whispered, "Rabbi, I understand what you told me." It seemed as if the Ari bent his head and sank into the water. I arrived in Israel. I'm home. Again, I was by the rabbi. In my heart was a sense of true happiness. The rabbi for me is like a dad, a brother, a friend, my teacher. A teacher who'll take me where I dream to go. You can't speak about the group without the rabbi, and you can't speak about the rabbi without the group. They're one. The group is family, and the group is friends, and the group is love, and the group is hate, anger, all that. I don't know what could take me out of the group now. I dreamed that we'll soon find a place where we can all live in cooperation so that we can develop more and more, forever, and become a world center for Kabbalah development. On January 16th, a bus hit the car Rabbi Lightman was driving in. A phone ring woke me up. The rabbi had been fatally wounded. I couldn't grasp it. That was it. Everything stopped. I felt an unbearable pain. All my life, all I'd lived for, everything I felt, my hopes, everything, it all collapsed. Everything became meaningless. I cursed God. I'm saying what I felt without hiding a thing. I forgot what the rabbi taught me, that God radiates only good. This is good, I yelled. God is taking the rabbi away from me. For 7 days, the rabbi lay in intensive care. For days, the group didn't leave the hospital walls. The members weren't allowed in the room. They stood by the door and prayed. They were sent out to the hall. They prayed there. For the first time in my life, I truly understood what power our group had. For the first time, I understood the true meaning of prayer. It's not a text that you recite morning, noon, and night. It's that one true wish in your heart. Our hearts had only one wish. We begged that our rabbi would be returned to us. And the rabbi lived, against all odds. He stayed alive because the group wouldn't let him go.
Time.
Today, I believe and am sure that the experience was given to us on purpose so that we deeply understand how important the rabbi is to us, so that we'd understand how powerful we are united, and that we will, with no doubt, go the whole way together. We'll go out into the spiritual world and meet God.